How's it going, trainers? Welcome back to another TOT. You're going to have a wonderful day today. We got four people on with us today to kind of give you the ropes on what to do when using Zoom. Myself, Joe Franklin, is going to help you with showing videos and the best methods when it goes to using videos. The person below me, Karen, you want to say hi?
Hi.
She's going to show you how to do polls and all the little interesting things you can do with Zoom. And our main host, Marta,
Hello.
she's going to be teaching us the basics of Zoom. And we have Susie here as an observer. She's going to throw in questions and give us ideas as we go along. So thank you guys for choosing us as your trainers for Zoom. So Marta, we're going to have you start off with giving us some of the basics when it comes to Zoom.
Yes. I'm going to share my screen. And the first thing, we don't want to talk about that right away. That's way at the end. So let's go to this slide. So the first thing I want to mention to people is that because this is a recording of us in Zoom, it might be helpful if you open Zoom for yourself and you could just have a Zoom meeting going while you watch the video, and then you can kind of try out some of the Zoom items while we're talking about them. What I have up on this screen right now is just a screenshot of the Zoom app that you should download. And I'm just gonna show you that the easiest way to start a meeting when you just want to play around with Zoom and test out stuff is to just click this new meeting button. There's a delightful circle. And if you click on that, a Zoom meeting just automatically opens up and you can play around while you watch the video and try some things out. And it's also a great option to play around in Zoom before your training and try out some of the features to get used to them before your first training. Okay, so let's go over some real basic stuff about Zoom right away. I'm gonna
And a tip, before you change slides after you annotate something, it's always best to clear the screen.
Yeah, I did. Oh, there you go.
You have a circle on your face like Marta.
We'll get to that when we do the annotate section. But yes, I clicked clear, but I didn't then click underneath it where it says clear all. Yes. Okay, so what we have here is another screenshot. This is of me looking at, my clip screen item while I was trying to get these items. So what I want people to look at is at the bottom, there's a yellow arrow over here on the left, and there you'll see it says mute and stop video. Those are the two places where you should always be able to turn your audio on and off and turn your video on and off. You might also want to be telling participants, hey, turn on your video. It's in the lower left corner. And that's where those items are. The video icon has a little caret next to it, this little kind of up arrow thing. If you click on that, that's also where you can play around with your screen and what's in the back of the screen. So for example, today, me and Joe do not have things on the back of a screen. This is just what my room looks like, and Joe as well. But Karen has a faux living room kind of scene. Karen, maybe you want to say hi, just because I noticed in the recording sometimes only the speaker shows up. So Karen, just say hi so people can see your screen.
Absolutely. So I've just got a background that is virtual so that it looks like I'm in a very attractive living room here.
And then Susie, what do you have going on?
It looks like I am standing in front of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco.
Wow. You'd think I'd hear wind in the background or something, but there's a bell. Some of the other features to point out are there's this participants tab. I'm right now on the sort of rectangular yellow area. So we have a participants tab, which I'm going to show you on our next screen. That's where you can get a list of all the people that are in your training, and you can do some fun things with that. So we'll show you that. I am the trainer, so I also create a poll ahead of time, which Karen's going to show us later. So I also, next to participants, have a polls button that I can click on to bring up my polls. There's also a chat function that we will get into, and the chat is great for putting in documents, typing in URLs, personally messaging individual participants like, hey, I noticed you're not paying attention, wake up.
But as a
Right
as a
now,
disclaimer with
what,
chat,
Joe?
as a disclaimer with chat before you move on, that all chats, regardless if they're public or private, get saved. So just keep that in mind and let participants know that.
Yeah,
All chats get saved, regardless if it's private or public.
right. And we'll get into that on the next screen too, where I show them what the chat looks like. There's also the share screen button, and that's where you can share PowerPoint, videos, websites, whatever. That's just where you share your computer screen with your participants. There's a record button if you want to record your training. If you record a training, you make sure to let everybody know that you are recording and go down the list of people and have them say, yes, I agree to let you record me. Otherwise, that's a big no-no in our world. There's a breakout rooms button, which Karen will be showing us how to do breakout rooms later. And then finally, there's a reactions button, which is what I will be talking about next. Okay, so one of the main things that trainers need to be aware of in an online training is the fact that knowing, like, interacting with participants is a little more difficult, and getting a read on how they're doing is more difficult. And so there's some really easy ways to help engage the learner, and these can be found on the participants tab. Some of the easy things are, so what you'll notice here is this is the participants tab up here, and you have the names of everybody, and you can see who has their video and audio on. But what I want to talk about right now are these items here that say yes, no, go slower, go faster. Those are all things that you can ask the participants to use. So right now, Karen, Susie, and Joe, will you just click yes so that we can So when Karen and Joe and Susie click yes, what that does for me as the trainer, I suppose I can't really show people this because it's a recording, but when they click yes, what that does is it tells me who said yes, the number of people that said yes versus the number of people that said no. So it's just a really easy way to help people check in and make sure that they're still paying attention. It's also a really great tool to use. Instead of saying, does anybody have anything to say about this? Instead, say, if you have something to say about this, check yes on here and then go through the list that way.
Makes sense.
The next way to interact with people is in chat. And a couple of things to notice in this screenshot of chat that I have is you can upload documents. So right here is a PDF that's in a chat, and people can just click download and use that. Down at the bottom here where it says to everyone is where you'll see a file over on the side, and if you click file, you can download things and they'll upload in the chat, and again, people can just click on them and use them. The same is true if you paste a URL into the chat down at the bottom where it says type message here. You can paste in URLs to people and then they can just click on those. As Joe mentioned earlier, the default here says to everyone. If you have more than one person in your Zoom, the everyone, when you click on everyone, you'll get a list of all of the people that are currently in your Zoom, and you can individually message people. And as Joe mentioned, while the messages are private during the Zoom, a trainer can, over on the right here where there's these three dots next to file, a trainer there has the option to download the chats, and then they can see all of the chats that happened during a training. And so you might want to tell your participants to not talk badly about you during the training and chat, because you'll be able to go back in and see all of the things that they say. Not that anybody is doing that.
Or don't talk badly about each other.
Or don't talk badly. Well, they wouldn't know if you're talking badly about each other.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because they're not seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or give out any identifying information about a child in your home or anybody else.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Then the final easy interaction that you can do is the reactions tab. And so that also is at the bottom of your screen. It's the little smiley face with a plus, and you have two options. One is a clap and one is a thumbs up. I tend to use this a lot when I do these training of trainers, because I feel like it's just the quickest way to get an instant feedback, because you don't have to like click on participants and then go to yes. It's just the reaction, and then when you press the reaction, the hand and thumbs up come up, and you can just click whichever one you want. Oh, I see Karen has her thumbs up. Karen, can you say hi in case they can't see your screen right now?
Absolutely, and it will disappear after about 30 seconds.
Yeah,
so
yours already disappeared.
I'm going to click it again now. So it is a temporary item that pops up.
Mine already disappeared. Let me re-click.
Yep.
I'm up.
Yeah, so it stays
There
up
we
for
go.
like
Thumbs up right now.
seconds. Whereas the items under participants, like the yes, that, or the hands up that the participants tab has, those stay up until you as the trainer go over to their name in the participants tab and click off for it, or yeah, can't remember the exact wording. Do you guys have anything else to add about participants tab, chat, the reactions?
Your toolbar, which is the reactions on the right there, usually stays at the bottom of your screen. When you are sharing, though, it can move around, so just be cautious of that. And then the same thing with your participant and chat bubbles on the left there. They are hidden until you click those buttons on that bottom toolbar, the participant button and the chat, and then they will appear.
Yes, and right now the screenshot that I have has participants and chat, because I had clicked on both of those, and then they always, for me, sort of combine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and things can move around, especially when you share screen. For example, and I kind of like it actually, so that bottom toolbar, I like to move it over to my other screen so that it's not in my share screen area. But it can get confusing. So sometimes you do have to like look around for things, which is why, again, we strongly urge you to play around in Zoom a lot before you do your first training, specifically sharing screen and trying things out and realizing where things move, so that you're not kind of confused once you're training. Okay, so let's move on to share screen. This screenshot is, and got it clear again there. This screenshot is an image of what happens once you click on that green share screen icon that I have here at the bottom of my screen. Now, what pops up when you click share screen are all of the, so for example, you could tell that I have two monitors. So I have screen 1 and screen 2 for each of my monitors. And then below that, the second line are all of the documents that I have up on my computer right now. Documents and sort of apps and things, because I noticed the second thing is my Teams. And you guys can see I was chatting with Jillian yesterday. But you can see I have a Word document up, I have this PowerPoint up, I had my email up. The other things that you have that people might use there's something called a whiteboard. And what the whiteboard really just is it pops up a giant white screen for you. And you can annotate over it and have people write things on it or type over it. But anytime you share a screen, you can annotate on things. And we'll show you that a couple slides from now. But you could have a blank PowerPoint slide up and people can annotate on that. As soon as you share the screen, people are going to be able to annotate. So if you don't want to flip back between your PowerPoint and a whiteboard, you can just leave the PowerPoint up and have people, write stuff on a blank PowerPoint slide. I'm going to go to the advanced features next, but before I do that, Joe, Susie, Karen, anything else you'd want to mention about this?
No, just other than, I don't know.
Just that when you do have items you want to share, whether it's a video, a YouTube video, or a PowerPoint, just have them open in advance, and then they become shareable options automatically in here.
That's a great point to mention. So before a training, make sure you prep and have all of the things that you're going to be sharing in your screen up and ready to go. Because you can't go share screen and then go into a file folder and get it that way. It has to already be up. So make sure that your PowerPoint's open. If you have videos you want to play, make sure like the YouTube page is open or the video file is open and ready to go, because it's not going to show up on the screen unless it's open on your computer. Thanks, Karen. Okay, let's go to advanced features. So advanced features, the main one that I use all the time, for example, I'm using it now just because I prefer when I'm doing PowerPoints to just show a portion of it so I can kind of see on the side. But you can show just a portion of your screen as well. And so you would click on portion of screen and a green kind of outline comes up, and anything that's within that green outline is being broadcast to the participants, and anything outside of that green outline is not in there. And so I also find it's just a lot easier to be more aware of what's on my screen because that green outline is there for me. Some trainers like to play music before a training starts, but they still want to have the full participant view available. And so you could use the music sound only to play music on your computer, and then that broadcasts, but it's not like sharing your screen, it's just sharing the audio on your computer. And then there's this content from second camera. Has anybody ever used that?
No, it's pretty much what it does is anything that you move over to the second screen, pretty much, it broadcasts to the people.
Yeah.
Instead of having a small individual green outline, the whole second screen is outlined, and everything you drag over there automatically gets broadcasted.
Okay. I just realized that like my little, you guys can probably see the box now. I do not have a good place to like put you guys. I keep looking at you guys, but you guys aren't by my camera. So I apologize to people watching this if it looks like I'm like this while I'm talking. I'll try to make sure I'm always looking at the camera when I talk. Okay, let's do some annotating. So could one of you, this is one of those things I'm always a little, like, it's always a little hard for me to describe to participants because it looks a little different for me as the person sharing my screen. So can somebody who is not sharing the screen tell us what you do for, there? It should be at the top, but it doesn't always say annotate right away. So what is it saying for people?
So at mine, when you go to view options, annotate is normally the third option. When you're clicking on view options at the top of your screen, that usually stays there for the participants that typically don't go away, but always look in your view options for the
annotate. So the annotate functionality for participants is at the top, and you usually click view options, and then annotate is a function. For somebody sharing the screen, a lot of times annotate is at the bottom in that toolbar. So what I have up now, and thank you everybody for putting in the little different annotation things. What I have now, again, is just my PowerPoint is up, and you can see that Karen and Susie and Joe have been adding all kinds of lovely, cute little annotations. In the yellow rectangle, I have a screenshot of all of the different functions within the annotation for the trainer. I'm clicking on select right now, and you can see that I'm moving the heart that's over on the right by the question mark. You can see that I have the ability to move it around as the trainer. So for example, if you wanted to have people do sort of like a virtual whiteboard, you could tell them to like type in stuff on here, and then you have the ability to like organize everything. So I'm going to put all the text over here. And then you could, for example, like move all the hearts to one side. So the annotation function is a kind of substitute for if you have people do a lot of charting.
Like flip chart paper?
Yes, flip chart. I'm just like, what's the first word? So I just said charting. Yes, the flip chart paper. And so that's what it can be used for. So you do have the whiteboard option, which I'll show on the next slide, but I really prefer just putting in blank PowerPoint slides and letting people write on the PowerPoint, or setting up my PowerPoint slide to look like how the flip chart paper looks in class. Like put on one half of the flip chart, one thing, and then the other, and like type things underneath it. Have you guys noticed people using the whiteboard? I'm going to bring up the whiteboard next. Let me clear and move to what the whiteboard looks like.
I am seeing a combination where some people are still using the whiteboard, and then other trainers, as they feel more advanced and get more comfortable, put a blank slide in their PowerPoint, like you said, and have started using that as their whiteboard. So a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before trainings, I've seen some trainers talk about adding whiteboards in the middle of training if they forgot to add a blank slide or something, or they come up with an activity on the fly. The whiteboard is just a good way to incorporate new ideas on the fly.
That's a good point. For things on the fly, the whiteboard can be really useful. Whiteboards are also something that anybody, so something I didn't mention about the share screen is that the sharing of your screen isn't something that just the trainer who's the host has access to. Anybody who's in your Zoom can share their screen. And so sometimes people will put people in breakout rooms, which Karen is going to show later. And one of the participants in the breakout room can bring up a whiteboard and annotate all over it and save it. Because you can save things as well. You'll notice, let me put a little circle around it. You'll notice there's a save function. And so you can always save your screens as well. Once you save it, it ends up in your documents folder under a folder that's called Zoom. And so that's where things reside there. It can be a little complicated for participants, although I feel like most of them get the hang of it pretty quickly. But yeah, if you click save, a copy of the whiteboard or anything that's been annotated will end up under my documents in a folder called Zoom. And it's has a really long file name, so you kind of have to look at the date and the time, and that'll tell you which one is which.
So Marta?
Yeah?
I have a question about the clear function.
Uh-huh.
You have to do that per marking on the whiteboard, or can you clear the whole whiteboard with one function?
So you can, it's clear all drawings, clear my drawings, and then clear viewers drawings. So I'm going to do clear. Did you guys write on this one at all?
I did one.
Can you guys kind of scribble outside the whiteboard? Just.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, just so we can easily. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is just do clear viewers drawings.
Okay.
And
so
now I'm
yours
going to
are
do
left.
just clear my drawings, and that little purple circle I did around save should disappear.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but you can clear individual things, I think.
Click on the eraser.
Yeah, and the eraser.
Eraser, right.
So what is one of the, will
I'll
somebody
put a
write
new one
something
on for
again?
you. There's a couple new arrows.
Okay. Getting rid of Karen's arrows, getting rid of that heart.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so you can get rid of individual things or you can get rid of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else about annotate, you guys?
There is a laser function for the host now that I found recently. So if Marta, if you look on your toolbar, it looks like a red kind of point or dot. And I believe it's to the left. Or is it spotlight? I believe it might be spotlight.
I just have mouse select.
Yeah, it's the fifth one from the left. If you
Oh,
open-
the spotlight. Thank you. That was a fascinating one that I've seen a trainer use. It's like having, if you go under spotlight, one of them should be a red laser. And as you move your mouse around, it would make a red laser on the screen. That's a newer one that I've seen. Perfect. So some trainers have started to use that, and that is only something that the host that, or excuse me, the person sharing can do. So as Marta, as the trainer, she's sharing her screen. That is a newer function we've seen some trainers use.
You guys can see that then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. You know what? I was thinking the mouse did that, but the mouse is just putting it back to mouse, right?
Yes. Yep.
make
Okay.
things clickable.
To make things, yeah. Okay. That's good to know. I'm going to keep that up because I have been talking about things and I could have just been using that. Anything else? Okay, well, let's move on to breakout rooms. And Karen, I should keep this screen up for you, correct, Karen?
That's perfect. We'll stay right here. So I'm just going to go over quickly what a breakout room is. So it's going to be smaller rooms within a Zoom meeting that you can place participants into small groups. They can do smaller study groups, they can discuss topics, and then once they're done in those small group breakout rooms, you can then bring them back to the main room to discuss it as a whole. So we do see this feature being used quite a bit in many of our classes, or almost all of them. There are a few things that the participants can still do in the breakout room. So when we do move them into breakout rooms, they have the ability to still use the chat function within the breakout room itself. And they can also share their screens within the breakout room. So as Marta said earlier, when we have a participant in the breakout rooms, they are able to share a whiteboard and they can write on it together and brainstorm in those smaller groups. For turning on or activating the breakout rooms, this can only be done by the host. So Marta, as the host, would then go to her breakout toolbar, or her breakout button at the bottom of her toolbar. And I'm going to bring up my annotate, and I will just kind of show where I'm at too. So this breakout room button, it looks like 4 squares. Can everybody see my yellow line?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. And then that'll open up this small screen here in step 2. And I'm going to clear that one. And so here, you have the ability to automatically assign breakout rooms, or you can manually choose who you would like to go into the rooms. A lot of our trainers start with using the automatic, and then as they get a little braver, they move on to the manual. And then you would want to select how many rooms you would like as well. And it does give you a nice breakout of how many people will be in each room down here. So if you had 10 people in the class or 12 people and you wanted 4 rooms, it would say about 3 participants per room. So again, you can play with that a little. Automatic is a great place to start, and then manual will let you take individuals and put them into specific rooms. Once you have decided if you're going to do automatic or manual, you'll hit the create room button here, and then you'll get a pop-up with all the breakout rooms here in step 3. And you would see multiple rooms. Obviously in this one I just had 1 breakout room, but you would see breakout room 1, breakout room 2, breakout room 3, and you could then start placing names in this room or in each room. You do have an options feature here at the bottom that you will want to review before you open the breakout rooms. This allows you to set timings on the rooms. It lets you set timers for when they're going to pull them back. So all kinds of features under there. Once you're comfortable with your options, you'll select or hit the open rooms button. And then that's going to send an alert to all of your participants on their screen saying, would you like to join your room? And so then they will accept that. They will all jump into the rooms, and then they will be in there, and then you can decide when you would like to pull them back. On step 4 here, if you wanted to send a message to all of the breakout rooms, say you forgot something that you wanted them to know, you can click at the bottom of your breakout room toolbar, or window, I should say. There'll be a breakout room message button, which has that little arrow next to it. You can then create a little message here, and then you can send it right to them. And so all breakout rooms will then see it. It is a smaller blue pop-up at the top of their window, and they'll be able to kind of read it. So if you had something you wanted to add. Now, when you're done with your breakout rooms, there is a red button here in the corner. And if you click that red breakout room button, it'll close them. It does give a countdown of either 60 or 120 seconds, depending on what you set over here in the options. So you can call them back. So then after that, they'll get a countdown, know to wrap up, and then they'll pull back to the main room. A main point that you'll want to know about the breakout rooms is that hosts and co-hosts are the ones that can move from room to room. So participants, once they're in a room, they stay there until you call them back. But you as the host, as the trainer, and then the co-host would most likely be your partner trainer. You do have the ability to move around. Is there anything else anyone can think of for breakout rooms that we should include?
As far as moving around in breakout rooms, as a co-host, you have to enter a room first before you can travel in between other rooms. I know some people sit in the main room and wonder why they can't get into a room. You have to go into a room first before you can move throughout the rooms.
Right. So a host needs to assign a co-host to a room, and then they have to pop into the room first, and then that's how they can move around. If you like to check in on the different breakout rooms that are happening, you'll have to do that.
Thank you guys, appreciate that.
And you can, so once people are in breakout rooms, let's say you forgot to put the co-host in, you can always click on breakout rooms again and like add the person to a room. It's not that once you create a breakout room, you're done. Because we've had some people that get kicked out of Zoom, and it's easy enough to assign them to a room after they come back in. And another thing with breakout rooms that's helpful to know is that it remembers what you did the last time during the session. So if you do breakout rooms once during your session and you click on breakout rooms again, it automatically brings out the breakout rooms that were there before. So you can keep sending people to the same breakout rooms. You don't have to remember in your head, but you also have the option to clear it out and start new if you wanna, instead of do, groups of 4, you wanna do something with like pairs, you can do that as well.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Joe. Great points.
I think breakout rooms is also, because I get a lot of questions about breakout rooms and trainings from the trainer. I think breakout rooms is a good place to also mention that, at least at Milwaukee, I'm not sure about in Madison, but in Milwaukee, the emails that trainers get sent out where you get the name of your tech support person also mentions that you can schedule like a 1-hour session to try out some of these functions. And for your first training, I would definitely recommend that. And then you can try out breakout rooms, really see, because you can't do a breakout room by yourself. You really need somebody else there. So if you can get a co-trainer and then the tech support person to come with you to do that, then you can try out some of those breakout room features.
Great idea.
So Joe, I remember we forgot to do the video thing during the screen share thing, but I think with the flow, it's good for Karen to do polls next.
Makes
and
sense.
then we'll go back to doing the videos thing.
Okay. All right, so polls it is.
Yeah, so Karen, I think I should end my share screen, right? Because first we're gonna show them how to set up polls, correct?
Yep, I'm gonna start with how to create a poll.
Okay.
So as a host, the host of the meeting has the ability to create polls. You can have up to 10 questions per poll, and you can have up to 50 polls per Zoom meeting. These polls are great ways for trainers to interact with their participants, even find out, maybe where they stand on an idea. So we do see this being used more and more. You'll get more uncomfortable as you do it. To create a poll, we do ask that you create it before the class. It's something you would do on zoom.us. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to share my web browser. Can everyone see my web browser okay?
Yep.
Wonderful. And don't be scared to ask your participants if they can see your screen. It's much better to know that they can see it than they don't. All right, so I went to zoom.us up here. It's a basic just URL. And then I logged in. And then once you're logged in, you have a list of tabs over here or options. You'll want to select meetings. And then on the meetings tab, you're going to see all of my active scheduled classes. So this is everything that I'm teaching coming up. So if I click on one of the classes where I want to create the poll, it's in blue, gives me a hyperlink. I'm going to click on it. This opens the options for that particular training on August 21st. So now I know I'm in that particular training that I want to add the poll. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you do have a poll center here. And so it just says right now, I have no polls created yet. So I'm going to add one. There is an add button over here on the right. So if you click the add button, you're going to get this really great option, choice option answer questions. So first I'm going to enter in the title of the poll. All right. And you do have the option to make them anonymous. So if you want to find out maybe how participants are feeling about what they've been up to or their jobs or what's going on in life, how's everyone doing, and you want to make it anonymous so people feel more comfortable, you can select that. Otherwise, it does give you the option without that to see who selected what. So I am going to enter the first question here. All right. So then you do have the option of making it a single choice answer or a multiple choice. Multiple choice lets them choose a couple. So I'm going to make it single choice, make you choose one. And so you can do quite a few answers, as you see, up to 10 answers here for options. So I'm just going to make it single choice. Now, if I want to add another question, there's a button here at the bottom, and you can just add another question, and again, up to 10. And then once you've added all the questions you would like, you will then hit the save button here in the bottom right. And now I'm still in the meetings tab for that particular meeting. Oops, excuse my pop-ups. So I'm still in here. This is the Zoom participant test for August 21st. I'm going to scroll back down. And now it says that I have a poll created in here. So I have one poll for this meeting. That's the favorite color poll that I created. I can go back in and edit it. I can also delete it. I can also add a new one here as well. Marta, did you say there was an active poll in this particular meeting that I could launch, or?
There is, and it's actually a favorite color poll.
Ooh, I like it.
Can we mention a couple things about polls?
Absolutely, jump in, please do.
That I always forget. You really need to create a poll ahead of time in order for even the poll's icon to show up. So if
yes.
you created polls, like the icon doesn't even appear for you in the bottom.
Good point. So once you're in the meeting, you don't see that poll icon unless you've had one poll created.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Karen.
I will do my best. What's up?
It's a common question I know that the trainers are probably asking right now. So once you create a poll for a single training, can you use that same poll for multiple trainings, or you can only use that poll for that training?
That's a great question, Joe. At this point, it does not transfer. I hope someday in an update in Zoom we see that, but as of now, they do not transfer. You'd have to recreate them on each meeting.
Got it.
Do apologize. Not a fun one.
So keep them simple, short and simple and sweet.
Yep. So I'm wondering if I share my screen. Again, this is our attempt at this. I'm going to try to start a poll. And I'm wondering, with me sharing my screen, can you see the poll that I've started?
No.
Okay. These are the things you'll learn as you do Zoom. So it's very difficult to show you through a recording how to see the poll, but Marta does have a great slide that kind of shows you what you'll see when you do click on the poll button in Zoom when you're in the meeting.
Yeah, let me bring it up for you, Karen.
Thank you. I was hoping to show you live, but again, limitations for these recordings. Do apologize. Okay, so when you are the participant in the training and the trainer launches a poll, you're going to see this one over here. So they're going to have all their questions in a row. They can scroll down and they can answer all of the questions, and then they'll have a complete button at the bottom once they're done, or submit. So that's what the participant would see when you launch it. And then as the trainer, which would be the host and the co-host, you would see this one in the middle here, and you would be able to actively watch people answer the questions, and these would fill up. So if you had 12 in the class and 3 had answered so far, right here it would say 3 out of 12 have voted. So it's a great way to actively watch the poll be completed. And then once they are done with the poll, you can hit the end poll button at the bottom once you've seen everyone complete it. And then you're going to get this last slide here on the right. And this shows you the results, which then gives you a great button here at the bottom that says share results. And by clicking that as the trainer, you can then share the results with the participants and they'll be able to see it as well, so you can discuss it. So it's a great feature to try to get everyone engaged, get people included, and then you can go back into the questions and share the results and try to get some activity or some engagement as well, some talking about the points. Anything else anyone can think of adding for polls? They are very cool. Don't be scared of them. You'll really like them once you get used to them. I think that's all I got. Any questions? All right.
No. Joe, do you want to take us back to some screen sharing stuff? I totally forgot to share one of the more useful things. I know a lot of our trainings have videos, and so it's really
So one of the things that
talk about that. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen though, Joe, so you can do your thing.
All right. So one of the most popular things that people like to do in Zoom trainings is sharing videos. The best thing about Zoom is that there's so many ways to share videos, but there's only 2 ways that we really recommend us showing a video. So I'm going to show you how to do it today. As Marta said earlier, you want to have all your videos and stuff, YouTube links, MP4 files already pulled up before you go to share screen. That makes things much easier. There's been so many times I've seen people been unprepared and training has gone to a halt when they try to look up or try to find stuff that they want to share. So before you share a video, whether it's from YouTube or an MP4, you always want to make sure that you have the 2 buttons clicked at the bottom of the share screen. At the bottom of the share screen, it says share computer sound and optimize screen sharing for video clip.
Do you want me to bring up the slide that shows that, Joe? I have. Okay, let me.
Oh, here, I got one already. Mine's is not nearly as pretty as yours.
Oh, you were gonna. Okay.
Mine's is not nearly as pretty as yours, but okay, there you go. Oh, well, Susie did something. So you can go ahead and pull yours up, Marta, if you want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think I deleted mine because yours looked better.
Yeah. Well, if I would have done this in the right order.
No
there
worries.
You go. I can even do the, okay.
So yes, these 2 bottoms at the bottom, when you use this nice annotate feature that we used earlier. Oh, and Marta's going to use her spotlight tool.
Yep.
So as you can see, I clicked on an arrow using my annotate. Just to go back to annotation, if you choose to use the arrow with the name, only one person with an arrow name can be up at one time. So if Marta was to put up an arrow as well to point to this, mine would disappear because only one person with an arrow can come up at a time. So just a little tidbit. So you can stop sharing now so I can show what it looks like when you're showing a video. So I want to show you guys 2 video clips. If you're familiar with the Big Bang Theory, they're from there. They're about active listening and active talking. So I'm going to show the YouTube video first because that tends to be the worst viewing of the 2 methods. When you're using a YouTube video, we always recommend that the participants turn off their screens so things can be shown much more clear and crisper. There's only 4 people in this meeting right now, so it might show very good, but the more people that are on a meeting, the choppier the videos tend to look from what I experienced. So in those situations, just kind of muscle through it, and there's not really anything you can do about it. All right. So I'm going to optimize my screen for video sharing. And I am going to pull up the first clip from Big Bang Theory. So this is going to be the MP3 clip, MP4, I apologize, clip. I want to show this one first, just so you can kind of see the difference between showing a MP4 versus a YouTube video. You guys might notice that there's a bar on the top of the screen. I can't see it because all I see is the main screen. But when you see this bar, that usually means that you have something blocking the media that you have. So always just kind of move it out the way if you notice that there's something blocking the screen. So here goes the Big Bang Theory.
Good morning, handsome.
Morning, Mom.
It's me.
Yes, it is, and you're so pretty in the morning.
Your mom and I made you breakfast.
Oh, wow. So you guys are getting along?
Yeah, I guess. We're very different people, Howard, so communication's a little tricky.
Does he like the pancakes?
He didn't try them yet!
Is there any butter?
It's butter-flavored syrup.
So, what's the word?
He wants butter!
It's butter-flavored syrup!
I just told him that!
I don't need any butter.
You want butter?
All right. So that was a video that was played directly from my computer. It should have shown fairly smoothly because I have a pretty decent internet connection. But as I said earlier, the more people that's on the meeting, the slower it tends to go. But like I said, I always recommend using an MP4 over an actual YouTube video. So we're going to move over to a different clip from the Big Bang Theory. That clip was about active listening and communication. The next one's going to be about active talking and listening. So we're going to play that short clip, like I said, as a demo to see how playing clips from YouTube look. It looks a little different. It's not as smooth and as crisp, but it gets the job done in a bind. So I'm going to go down to start a new share or share screen again. Thanks a lot for turning off your screens. It helps a lot. So let's get this video pulled up. I'm going to make this full screen as to hide all the other stuff. And here we go.
I have one gray bar. I'm going to be your co-trainer. I show one gray bar and around, here we go.
Right there.
As your co-trainer, I'm backing you up.
All right, is it going now?
There's a little square in this. There we go. It looks good now.
Yes, it shouldn't be open. Now it's over the screen and now it's not.
Perfect.
Now it is. Now it's not. All right, so just always keep that in mind. If you can see it on your main screen, there's a good chance that the people in the background can see it as well. So good catch, Karen, and I thank you. There is an option to turn off your meeting controls when videos are playing, but we can talk about that a little later. But here's the second clip.
First there was PlayStation, aka PS1. Then there's PS2, PS3, and now PS4. And that makes sense. You'd think after Xbox, there'd be Xbox 2. But no. Next came Xbox 360. And now, after 360, comes Xbox One. Why one? Maybe that's how many seconds of thought they put into naming it.
Can you get the butter, please?
You know, however, with the Xbox One, I can control my entire entertainment system using voice commands. Up until now, I've had to use Leonard.
Then get the other one. Pass the butter.
Hang on. I don't feel like you're taking this dilemma seriously.
Fine, Sheldon.
You have my undivided attention.
Okay, now, the PS4 is more angular and sleek looking.
No way!
It's true, but the larger size of the Xbox One may keep it from overheating.
You wouldn't want your gaming system to overheat?
No, see, well, you absolutely would not. And furthermore, the Xbox One now comes with a Kinect included.
Included?
Yes! Not sold separately. Although the PS4 uses cool new GDDR5.
I love that. I can sit there and have a conversation with that guy all day.
Now I want to know what happens at the end.
Hey, I always do that. I always cut the clip off in the middle, just because it encourages you to want to go in and go look for the episode.
Yeah,
yourself.
I can go to YouTube, I guess, and look for it.
So, and to add on to Sheldon's rants, the next Xbox is going to be called Xbox Series X, and you would think that they would call that Xbox, 3 or something, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, so those are sharing videos. I don't know, did you guys notice any difference in quality between the two clips?
I did not, which I can only assume means you had a very solid connection. So through the YouTube option and also through the option where you had it actually saved on your computer, both were very clear. How about you two, Susie, Marta?
I felt like the second one was clearer.
Oh,
More
really?
clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
That's interesting. So yeah.
They both look good, but again, Joe's got a good internet connection. I suppose, Joe, if you wanted to show people how they can test that, you can, or no?
Okay, I can definitely show that. So I feel like I don't have the best internet in Milwaukee, and I think that it tends to get the job done. So I always encourage people to kind of check your internet speed so you know how fast your internet is. And it also helps for when we have troubleshooting issues. If you have a bad internet connection, that can probably be the reason why a lot of your participants and stuff are disconnecting. So a website that I always recommend for people to go to is called speedtest.net. It's called speedtest.net. And every time before I do a training, just to kind of give myself an idea of how fast my internet connection is, I always go here just to kind of give my idea of how, good or bad my internet speed's going to be. It's just a matter of going to the website and clicking on the start button. So you guys see with my YouTube video and my MP4 video, I'm rocking around 20 megabytes of connection. That's about this number right here. So use that as your base. If I'm running at 20 megabytes and I'm able to show a video that well, kind of use that as your gauge. I noticed some trainers might have 10, some have way faster than mine, but 20 is your base. So yeah, keep that in mind. The upload speed really doesn't matter. That's for when you upload in documents. But as you can see, I only have a 2 megabyte connection, and that's absolutely fine for what we're doing. So 20 is about your base if you want a smooth video. When you get around the 15, 10 mark, it's going to start to drop. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a great time then if you're seeing that your numbers are very, very low to reach out to your internet provider and have a tech maybe come out and check. But again, that's more IT, so they can get into that if needed. But that's a great way to gauge if you need someone to come out and look at your service.
I mean, it's also about your router too. So if you have not bought a new router in a long time, it doesn't matter how fast your connection is, the router is not gonna
slow it down.
But another thing that might be even a simpler solution is that a lot of our trainings are co-trained. And so I know we've had trainings where the trainer that the host is sharing their screen and even their PowerPoints look terrible because their connection is so bad.
Yeah.
So it's always a good idea to have both sets of trainers have the PowerPoint with them and ready so that if one trainer's internet isn't so good, the other trainer can bring up the PowerPoint and run the PowerPoint while the trainer that's doing that section is talking. So that's just another thing to remember, is to make sure that both trainers have access to all of the items you want to share.
Right, not just one of them.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to that what Marta had said. So as if you recall in the video sharing that Joe did, I was being his mock co-trainer and I noticed the gray box and I just let him know. So that's, as a co-trainer, if you are not sharing, that is a great thing you can do when you're watching the other trainer share, so you can be their backup. The trainer that is not sharing their screen can also watch the chat box, which is another thing we see them do as well. So the co-trainer does a lot of kind of like side support to help the main trainer know what's on their screen and if everything's flowing. So it's great to be a backup.
Yeah. You also will have a tech support person. If you're in Milwaukee, probably one of us, and also Laura is another person that does tech support for us. So there's a tech support person there that number one helps the participants with issues. Oh, and what do you know? Laura is just coming in now.
Laura.
But
Welcome.
yeah, so the tech support person is there to help out the participants, so you don't have to worry about if they can't get their videos to work. But also secondary, what we can help with is helping you if you're having an issue with the PowerPoint or video. We can walk you through that process. And especially at the beginning, we're definitely there through the whole training. As you get more comfortable, we might stay for the first half hour and then just be on call, and you'd have our phone number and our email to get in contact with us. So you'll have a couple different support systems while you're doing the trainings. I did, as sort of a final thing, want to talk about the difference between a host and a co-host. When you click on participants as the host, you have the ability to click on next to people's names and make them co-hosts. And you could have anybody and everybody in a training be a co-host, but there can only be one host. However, people can switch off being the host, so you can give your hosting rights to somebody else, and then they'll need to give them back to you for you to be the host again. So just because you start off as the host doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be the role that you have the whole time. For most things, though, there's not a whole lot of difference. So let me talk about some of those differences. So the host is the only person that can start a meeting. So before anybody can get into the Zoom meeting, the host has to go in first, and then that person can start letting people into the class. The host is also the person that has the ability to end the meeting for all. So like today, when I end this training, everybody can leave the Zoom class individually, but I have the ability, and it comes up at the end, to say, you know, everybody leaves the Zoom. So I also have that ability. The host is also the only person that can start breakout rooms and move participants from one room to another. A co-host cannot. So I know sometimes there's confusion in trainings when people are getting used to it, where they're like, oh, the co-host can, you know, set up the breakup room while I'm talking. No, you need to make the other person the host if you want them to start creating the breakout rooms while you're talking. So just always be aware of the fact that the host is the only person that can create breakout rooms. The host is also the only person that can create polls ahead of time. So just as Karen showed, you go to zoom.us and create polls. Only the host can do that. If you go into the meeting, you can create an alternative host, and they can, I think, create meetings. Karen, do you know about that? Maybe I shouldn't say that if I don't know it's true.
If co-hosts can create meetings, like new meetings.
So you know how like when you create a meeting or edit a meeting, there is a way to make an alternative host?
There is, and I know the alternative host can start meetings for hosts, but I don't know what much more they can do. I think that's the only thing that I know of, that the alternative, it's a very special role.
Okay.
And so that's the only thing that I know they can do.
So I won't promise that. So a host needs to, if you're the host for the meeting, you need to be the one that goes in and creates the polls. And then the host can make other people co-hosts. So nobody is automatically a co-host. Even your co-trainer is not automatically a co-host. Once your co-trainer and your tech support person comes in, you're going to need to, again, make them co-hosts. The easiest way is to click on the participants tab. So the co-host role. Again, anybody can be a co-host. You can have multiple co-hosts. And what the co-hosts can do is really more like administrative management. So they can, again, if you click on participants, they have the ability to start and stop people's audio and video. So for example, sometimes people don't realize that their background noise is happening, and a co-host can go in and just sort of turn off their audio while that background noise is going. Like for example, the other day I was doing tech support for a training, and a lot of times participants, want to make sure things work. So they come into the class 15 minutes early, but you just don't want to like sit there and wait for the class to start. So we had somebody who took a phone call and so she wasn't listening to what was going on in Zoom, but we could like hear her on her phone, and we asked her, we're like, oh, you're on audio. And like, she just wasn't listening because again, she wasn't paying attention to the Zoom because the class hadn't started yet. So I had to go in and just turn her audio off. It's very easy to see who is making the noise because whoever is talking in Zoom has a yellow bar around their picture. So it's very easy to always figure out who's like making the weird noises if you hear weird noises. So that's one thing, is starting and stopping people's audio. A co-host can also let people in from the waiting room. So most of our classes, as a default, people don't automatically come into a Zoom training. They're put in like a waiting room that's really just a window on their computer that says, the class hasn't started yet. You're in the waiting room. You'll be let in when it's time. And the co-host has the ability, again, under the participants tab, to let everybody in from the waiting room. If you're a host and a co-host, if somebody pops into Zoom and is in the waiting room, when they first arrive, you also get a little pop-up box that tells you that somebody's in the waiting room, and you can click on that as well. And yeah, those items underneath the participants tab that the host sees, like who clicks yes and who clicks no and who raises their hand, the co-host sees those as well. While the co-host can't create polls, they can start polls. So either the host or the co-host can be the person to bring up the poll and run the poll. And then as far as breakout rooms, the co-host can't create breakout rooms, but once they're assigned a breakout room, a co-host can easily move around in between breakout rooms. And again, if you want to use breakout rooms, I really suggest you get together with your host and your co-host and your tech support person and do a run through of the breakout rooms just to see how the functionality works. And those are the differences, the main differences between the host and the co-host role. Anything else, you guys, about those roles? I don't notice people switching them too often. There really isn't much that you normally do where you would need to make somebody the host as if they're already the co-host. But it's good to know the differences for when you're, again, mostly with the breakout rooms thing.
That was a great breakdown. Thank you, Marta.
That is pretty much it for this. I'm trying to find my stop share screen. Pretty much it for this, Zoom training of trainers. If you, I guess the box is sort of like a greenish yellow now that I'm peeking it on here. I don't know what you would call that color, chartreuse.
I had one question that we just haven't really touched upon. Sometimes in the ones that I have been observing, I have a hard time hearing an individual person. And I wasn't sure if that would be related to the sound on my computer or their computer, or are they too far from their camera? So I was just a little bit wanting a little bit of feedback on how to deal with like an individual person's audio issue, if that makes sense.
It would, if everybody else you can hear, it's an issue with the person speaking, not with your microphone.
Right.
A lot of times, like I've noticed people using like I don't know if they're like for your iPhone, like your little speaker, and it kind of dangles. And I've had people using those, and like if they turn their head a certain way, it goes in and out. And But usually it's an issue on their end, and
So would there be like, what would be the easiest way to address a participant, or would you ask the host or the trainer to do this? Where, oh, you just want to mention that, okay, you're having a hard time hearing somebody, make sure that they're, speaking into their ability to speak is at a maximum, and that they've got their equipment working. You know what I mean? I'm just not sure the best way to get that information out there.
In situations like that, I would just send a private message to the individual that you're having a hard time hearing. As not to interrupt the trainers or the rest of the
exactly, right. So
a lot of times that private message.
Do that through the chat with a private message.
Hey, I'm listening to you, but I'm having a hard time hearing you. If you can adjust your audio.
Okay.
That's
yeah. But for a trainer, because we're talking to trainers right now.
Yeah.
So a trainer who can't hear a participant as they're talking should stop them from talking and tell them, I can't hear you right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then say, can you speak closer to your microphone? Or if their audio is just really bad, sometimes, people have said, can you type it into a chat and I'll read your chat. Luckily, participants as a norm don't have to talk for a long time. So if they're quiet for a minute, like their audio is really quiet and everybody has to lean into their computer more, it's not a big deal.
As a trainer, an option would be if your trainer and everyone's having trouble hearing the trainer is to check their headsets, try without a headset, try a different headset, so that way we've got a good clear audio, specifically if we're having trouble hearing the trainer. That is something where we see some headsets work better than others, and you just kind of got to play with them a little and see where you get your best audio.
Yeah. And again, this is, I hate to keep saying it, but a trainer should really ahead of time get on Zoom with somebody else and make sure all of their equipment works. Because a microphone, if it works on Monday, like there shouldn't be a reason why when you do your training the following Monday, it doesn't work.
Right.
So it's really important to test out the equipment you're going to be using during ahead of time.
Right.
Very good point.
Okay. Yeah, that was helpful.
Okay, well, thank you for watching this video. If we do have a lot of help guides that are available that talk about all of these items, if you would like a copy of the guides, reach out to the manager that you work with, and they will get you in contact with somebody that can send you all of those items. But we do have, gosh, probably like 10, 12 how-to guides that go over all of the things that we talked about today. So again, yeah, just reach out to your manager and they can send you those guides or get you in contact with one of us who can send them to you. So have a good day, everybody.